The Chiefs are already struggling, but the Houston Texans bullied them into oblivion. I think they're done, and we'll talk about it today on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Tony Wiggins. Thank you for joining us here on Locked On NFL. By us, I mean myself and Julian Council. And the Locked On NFL show is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is a part of the #1 sports podcast network. And we thank you for making us your first listen here. We like to go around the league and use the clips from local experts that keep their finger on the pulse of the team. That lets us know everything that's going on. And right now, this playoff picture is wild and out of control. Make sure what you do is tap in wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen, and we'll be right there. Just like if you're watching or listening today, you'll hear this episode that is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Give you a quick roadmap to where we're going. First of all, shout out to the everydayers that join us from all around the country. At the end of the show, we're going to talk about, don't look now in the NFC South, but one of us has a team that's looking at like they're going to win the division. Oh, and one of us already has a team that's winning the division. We'll go over both of those things. Right in the middle of the show, Peter Bukowski says the Packers smoked the Bears. No, they beat them. They held on, but they didn't smoke them, but we'll talk to him about that. But at the top of the show last night on Sunday Night Football, and as you heard early this morning with Tyler Rowland on Locked On NFL AM, the Kansas City Chiefs, man, they might really be cooked. And I know there's a lot of naysayers that's used to losing to them. They're saying, nope, I need to see proof of death. You might have saw it slowly but surely on your TV last night because they looked old, tired, and finished, Julian.
Yeah, they did. I'm not ready to bury them just yet. Now, since I said it's a possibility, I would not be surprised if this team won out. They have gone and lost 2 in a row. I guess they're 1-2 because that was after the Broncos game. They beat the Colts and they lost at Dallas on Thanksgiving. Then, of course, they lost last night at home against Houston. I'm still looking at it. Still a possibility they get to 10-7. Still a possibility they find their way into the playoffs via the wild card. I was messing around with the ESPN playoff machine. Now, I was not really paying attention to the AFC results because I'm more concerned about the NFC results. But I did just select Kansas City winning all their games, and they popped up as the 7 seed facing off against Denver. So it's still a possibility. But yeah, not a good situation right now for Kansas City as their season is on the brink.
Yeah, the season is on the brink, and it's on the brink because they were already struggling, and then they ran into the bullies from Houston. And when I tell you that defense looks like it's cooking and look like they want all the smoke, that's exactly what they look like. Here's my man, John Hickman from Locked On Texans.
All week, it felt like the first team of 20 was going to win this game. It just so happened to play in favor for the Houston Texans. I'm John Hickman of the Locked On Texans podcast, your team every day. A defensive matchup from both teams. Patrick Mahomes looking a little bit normal. 3 turnovers, a couple of sacks, no touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes. And also the Kansas City Chiefs defense made it hard on Houston. However, C.J. Stroud was able to get a touchdown early. They had a rough patch in that third quarter. They would have able to put it away in that fourth quarter with a Darion Ogunbowale touchdown. The story of the game is really the defense hitting, Taylor Petrie hitting, Kamari Lasseter hitting and getting a turnover. Azeez Al-Sair, Walter Payton Man of the Year award versus Walter Payton of the Year man. Him and Kelsey going at it. He gets the edge by getting the interception. Houston now has 5 wins in a row. They have controlled their destiny since the Jacksonville Jaguar game. And now the playoffs, it's a real thing. 4 games left. Where will the Houston Texans end their season? Who?
Yeah, he ain't have to mention the Jaguars. I appreciate him throwing that 19-point loss that we had in the fourth quarter, but that's a good football team doing it the old-fashioned way, man, playing hard-nosed defense, and yards and first downs and touchdowns are super hard to come by.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season too for Houston because you look at early on in the year, you were wondering, is this team going to even be in the spot where they're contending to not just win the division, but potentially get that wild card in the AFC? And here they are. They've bounced back. They're looking like the team that I think a lot of people expected them to be, as they've now won 5 in a row. They won 6 out of their last 7. So, yeah, I look at the AFC South right now. The Texans are sitting there, 4-1 in the division, and they, of course, split with the Jags. So if Jacksonville somehow trips up against either the Titans, my God, which would happen in week 18, would be such a Jags thing to do, or if they lose to the Colts, who no longer have Daniel Jones, then yeah, Houston would find a way to win that division. So we'll see if Texans can find a way to close it out and if the Jags can take care of business here in the last month of the season.
Yeah, we need to take care of business because Houston came alive when they came from a 29-10 deficit against Jacksonville. And Jacksonville is now saying that game was good for them. I'll explain that to you in just a second. But first, we got to let look, Jake Arthur, God bless you, man. The Colts have had a dream season, and Daniel Jones has had a dream season, and now he's out with a torn Achilles on a one-year deal. I kind of feel bad for him. I really do. I absolutely do. Here's Jake from Locked On Colts.
Where to begin? All right, so the Colts did not respond well to Daniel Jones' early exit against the Jaguars. Jones suffered an Achilles injury, which, of course, the big fear there is that it's a torn Achilles and that he's out for the year, which could maybe go into next year. But the Colts were just obviously completely deflated by that. They got slammed 36-19. Very few positive takeaways to come out of this. Riley Leonard maybe looked a little bit better at quarterback than you would expect as a 6th-round rookie, but what does that get you? You still have to face the Seahawks. You have to face the Texans again. You have to face this Jaguars team again. So just an awful, disastrous day for the Colts. We're about to have the whole rest of the thing for you on the Locked On Colts Squad Show. Make sure you check that out on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm going to throw the 49ers in there too, Jake. Y'all got them too. You know, it's going to be a hard road for you guys. But to go on something that I said earlier, Liam Cohen said the Houston loss was good for him. And what I took from that was this. They had been winning games doing a lot of dumb stuff and still winning. Eventually it caught up to them, and it's like, see, what I tell you. Since then, the Jaguars have played in a way that's like every opponent matters. The game is never over, and they're playing like their feet are on fire and getting a lot of unhealthy people returning back to their lineup. But now we got to focus on the Colts. So much promise at 7-1, and now they've lost 4 out of their last 5. And now Daniel Jones, who was up for most improved player, is probably gone for the season.
Yeah, I mean, they were 8-2 going to the bye week. And then after that, of course, they've lost 3 straight at Kansas City, against Houston, then on Sunday at Jacksonville. And if you look at the remaining schedules he brought up there, at Seattle coming up this weekend, they have Monday night at home against San Francisco. They're home against Jacksonville, at Houston. I have a hard time seeing them winning either of those games to finish off the year. It's to go from 8-2 to then finishing off and being 8-9. Like that's tough for the organization. And I would wonder what that would mean for Shane Steichen as their head coach. And you can look at, okay, well, they were 8-5 when Daniel Jones went down, really 8-4 when he went down early in that game. And then everything has kind of fell apart because you're playing a quarterback in Riley Leonard who can't throw the ball. I don't even know how he's even in his position. Well, he's in a position because Anthony Richardson hurt himself during warmups, had a had a band and hits himself in the eye, fractures his orbital bone back in week 6 and still can't play. And if you're Indianapolis, really, this would have been a perfect situation where if Richardson had sat back, had developed, learned behind Daniel Jones throughout the first really 3/4 of the season, and then come out here and maybe showed you something. Maybe that would have given you a conversation that he could have been the guy moving forward in 2026 had he somehow come in and saved the season yesterday and in these final 4 games, which I suppose is still a possibility. But as of this recording, we don't have any sort of update on where he's at as far as returning to play. So yeah, it looks like their season is going to go from, as you mentioned, a dream season to just a complete nightmare in the second half of the year, which was on paper a possibility, even with Daniel Jones, just knowing how much tougher the schedule got for them in the second half of the season.
No doubt about it. Lots of games with a lot of meaning yesterday, not only in the AFC South, but in the NFC North. We'll get to that. Bears and Packers in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps, no no things to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, this is a great, great gift. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code Locked On at checkout. That's Aura, AURA frames.com, promo code Locked On. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Rolling along with Julian Council here on Locked On NFL. Of course, Julian Council is with Locked On Panthers, and you're going to hear about the Panthers and their positioning as we talk about teams making the playoffs, and we're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers at the top of segment number 3, and I think it's well overdue. First, we got to talk about the Green Bay Packers, and Peter Bukowski does a great job on Locked On Packers talking about the Green Bay Packers. I think he does an even better job talking about their ops. Y'all don't know what an op is? That means an enemy. And he has a whole bunch of them up in the NFC North. They beat one yesterday in a real good game between the Packers and the Bears, and now they have taken sole possession of the lead for the division in the NFC North. Here's Peter Bukowski.
Jordan Love threw 3 touchdown passes, and the Packers defense, with the help of Keyshawn Nixon, get the game-sealing interception on 4th down to give Green Bay the lead in the NFC North. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, with 3 quick takeaways from Green Bay's 28-21 win over the Chicago Bears at a frigid Lambeau Field. It starts on offense, where the Packers were able to manufacture plays all day, whether it was crucial runs or it was explosive passes. Green Bay, 28 points. It could have been even more had Jordan Love not short-armed a throw on the first drive of the game that turned into an interception. We talked all week about not turning the football over, and this defense was gettable. It turned out this Chicago defense was gettable. Green Bay missed some opportunities in this game to do it, but they created the explosives. 3rd and 1, they get the Christian Watson touchdown. They get the crucial Josh Jacobs touchdown. They made it work.
Look, I'm happy for Green Bay, and Jordan Love answered a lot of questions yesterday, and it's good to see Christian Watson finally on the field catching touchdowns. They got Jaden Reed back. Still a few questions here or there. Michael Parsons' impact is, you can't even question it. He's just he makes everybody around him better. But Chicago Bears, I know you don't believe in moral victories, but we can have moral observations about a loss. And I think I'm impressed with them, man. Even in law, they fought, and they did it with a bunch of young kids, and they were right there inside the red zone, throwing the ball in the end zone to try to tie the game. They could have easily quit, and they didn't do it.
Even as well as things have gone so far this year under Ben Johnson, they still just can't get past the Packers. Whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Jordan Love, that's still just that one monster that's hiding in the closet that comes out every single time they play and just scares the hell out of the Bears. And it's unfortunate. Like, that's a game where it's a last-minute interception that ends up being at least the difference at the end of the game. And Caleb Williams has obviously looked so much better in this scheme under Johnson. But yeah, they can't find a way to get past them at this point in time. And you go from being the top seed when you wake up in the NFC to the 7th seed when you go to sleep, just showing you just how difficult not just the North is, but what that entire conference is so far this season. So I like what I've seen from out of Chicago. I think they should get a win against the Browns on Sunday. That'll get them to 10 wins. And then it just comes down to their final 3 games, all against conference opponents. And if they can get just one more win out of those 3, they're going to be a playoff team, but it's not going to be easy to get those, of course.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's still very, very impressive. And Ben Johnson, along with Liam Cohen and, of course, Mike Vrabel, are sitting up there as Coach of the Year candidates for a reason. I think the Bears are in good shape moving forward. But like you said, that one next step is a hard one, and that is to beat that team in green and yellow. It's very, very difficult. The Bills kind of slayed a dragon yesterday, if you will. It was the one that everybody seemed afraid of since Joe Burrow came back. He's kind of been on a little bit of a tear, where at least one game, but they had won 2 games in a row. Started out like they were going to beat Buffalo yesterday too. And I was sitting there thinking like, ooh, we got some stuff to talk about. But the Bills turned up the heat at the very end of the game and actually won it. Here's my man, Joe Marino.
The Buffalo Bills erase a 10-point fourth quarter deficit to come back and beat the Bengals. Josh Allen doing MVP things with his arm, with his legs, and getting a huge win for the Buffalo Bills. The Bills just made the clutch plays. Christian Benford with a pick 6. A.J. Epinesa with an interception. But Josh Allen getting it done in the fourth quarter. The Bills maybe not the team that's going to win the AFC East this year, but they're a tough out, and they're going to be a problem for anybody during this postseason run. Josh Allen wills the Bills to victory behind some clutch plays from the defense. They made their mistakes, overcame them, and won.
Yeah, the Bills are they're kind of like a head scratching team, man. At any moment they can jump up and beat you because they have Josh Allen. And sometimes the defense plays well and sometimes they don't. But just a few weeks ago, they let me down, man, against a team. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, come on, Buffalo, what's the deal? I think it's a matter of where you play them in the playoffs. Nobody wants to go to Buffalo, but if you catch them on the road, you might be able to knock them down.
Well, no one's going to be playing in Buffalo because they're not going to win a division. And Josh Allen may have played well on Sunday. He didn't do any MVP things because he's not going to be the MVP this season. It's either going to be Stafford or Drake May. Hell, even Jordan Love has better odds than Josh Allen. So, yeah, he went out there, played well, not going to be the MVP. They're not going to win the AFC East, which means they're going to have a devil of a time getting to the Super Bowl. But I still ask anybody out there, when you look at the current standings in the AFC, who do you realistically think, when it actually matters in the playoffs, is going to beat this team? You trust Denver? You trust Denver to get this done? And Bo Nix? Look, I love Drake. Do you trust this Pats team that has been god-awful the last couple of years? Barely any of those guys have actual playoff experience in New England. You trust them to take down Buffalo? Do you trust the Jags? I
Yes.
don't. Oh, okay. Sure. Pittsburgh, Baltimore. We know the Ravens have had multiple chances, can't get it done. The Chargers, come on. Texans, Buffalo's still going. They're going to Super Bowl, man. I don't care whether they win the division or not, because I don't see a single one of these teams in this comp. Like, that's the thing about Kansas City. And if KC finds a way to win these final 4 games, at least there's one team that is capable of taking down Buffalo. Everybody else I'm looking at in that conference, I don't care if Denver has won 10 straight games, how many games New England's won in a row. I don't trust any of those teams to actually take down the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen when it matters most. I think this is kind of like the perfect scenario for them, where they've had it to where they had to go on the road to Kansas City. They had the heartbreakers. They've had the time where they've had Kansas City at home, couldn't get it done. And that's happened to them, twice now? Mm-hmm. They have a chance where KC's probably not going to be involved. They get to just be the road team with the most experience out of all these other teams out there as far as being the playoffs. And the pressure is really not going to be on them. The pressure is going to be on Denver to actually prove that they were worthy of the number 1 seed. And if they won all those games in regular season, which they've won in close one-score games, it's going to be up to New England to prove that they truly have arrived as Super Bowl contenders just in year 1 of Mike Vrabel, year 2 of Drake May. It's going to be up to Jacksonville to prove that they're for
I'm
real as
laughing
well?
when you mention my team, man. I'm giving you all of this grace about to talk about your Panthers, and you keep laughing at you ain't giving my team no
I was
respect,
supposed
bro.
to take the Jacksonville
Yeah,
Jaguars
you got,
seriously
yeah, you
as
better,
a team that can take down the Buffalo
you
Bills
damn
for
right. We done beat
playoffs.
them twice in a row. You damn right we can take them seriously. And now I'm about to go to break because now you made me mad. I might not even talk about the Panthers in a nice way when I get back. It's Julian Council and Tony Wiggins here on Locked On NFL. We're about to go through something in this break, y'all. Hang on to segment 3. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. That's right, man. This is it. NFL Sundays, they're moving fast. You only got like 4 more to go during the regular season. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. Listen, with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, the receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Y'all know, y'all watching the game and y'all go, uh-oh, here we go. Well, no, that's when you need to go on FanDuel and go live and make you some bread. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Julian Council with all that hate and shade on my Jacksonville Jaguars. That's all right. I'm about to show them some love because the Carolina Panthers don't look now. They're sitting at the top. I asked him about this, I think it was a week or two ago. Man, can they really get to the playoffs? They got some quality wins against teams that a lot of people think are very, very good. And yesterday, they got some help from an unlikely source. Ross Jackson, ain't that something? Ross Jackson and the New Orleans Saints beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, who had been ahead of the Carolina Panthers in the NFC South. Oh, they're tied up now, thanks to the Saints. Here's Ross.
Well, that was, without a doubt, the best game of the New Orleans Saints 2025 season, and maybe one of the best games that we have seen this team play in quite some time. The New Orleans Saints didn't just win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They faced, managed, and overcame adversity on their way, and it was all on the backs of 2 rookie stars on the offensive side and another great performance from the defense. The defense continues to show up when it needs to, getting an interception late, forcing, 5 turnovers on down in this matchup as well, including the game winner on a 4th and 4. But it was Tyler Shuck, the rookie, as well as rookie running back Devin Neal, that stepped up and made sure that this offense was putting points on the board, crossing.
I don't know what's going on with Tampa, and I don't even know if Todd Bowles knows what's going on in Tampa. Yeah, they've been banged up, but still, you can't lose to the Saints when you got the team that they have.
Well, it happened.
Yep.
And now they've lost 4 out of 5. And listen, Carolina's already lost to this Saints team as well. And the Panthers got to go to New Orleans on Sunday. And I remember in the locker room afterwards when they lost New Orleans at home, that was after they went on the road and won in Lambeau. There were players saying that they weren't focused throughout the week. which means they took them lightly, which is just for a Panthers player to have the audacity to take anyone in the NFL lightly is just ludicrous. So I'm expecting that they will have the Saints' full attention, or the Saints have their full attention this week, especially coming off of what just happened down in Tampa on Sunday afternoon. But yeah, it's pretty simple. If you look at it, if the Bucs lose to the Falcons this Sunday and the Panthers beat the Saints and then they beat Tampa next week, they would have already wrapped up the division with 2 games left to play.
That's unreal.
Which is insane to think that and just by next Sunday, this team could be division champs for the first time in a decade if they get the right result this weekend between the Bucs and Falcons, and they take care of their own business the next 2 weeks as well. And then, and then look at just the NFC standings. Like, they're going to be the 4 seed, whoever wins this division. That would be wrapped up too. So they would not have to play anybody against the Seahawks or against the Buccaneers. I don't know how they would approach it, but they wouldn't need to play anybody. Now, certainly, when you look at things, I think the easiest path for them to make the playoffs is just sweep Tampa. Whether you win this weekend or beat Seattle, just beat Tampa at home and on the road, and then you're division champs that way with the head-to-head, and with Tampa being 9-8 and you also being 9-8. So that would be the simplest way to do it. Of course, just win all your games and be 11-6 too. But yeah, that it's crazy that they're in this spot. The Bucs had a long lead for a while, and Carolina just kind of crept there. They kept going back and forth from winning and losing. It's been that yo-yo since week 3 when they beat Atlanta, and here they are, 4 weeks left to play. 2 games remaining against Tampa Bay, and they have a chance to win the division outright for the first time in 10 years.
Stink, man. We're talking about Jaguars. We're talking about Panthers. Talking about the Denver Broncos. And now, all of these teams, the Bears, there's a changing of the guard in the NFL right now when it comes to the hiring. We're talking about maybe how the Chiefs aren't what they used to be. And then the Ravens. Whenever there's change for the good, then to somebody there's change for the bad. And my grandma used to always see somebody, if somebody was in pain, that boy needs to soak in some Epsom salt. Lamar Jackson looks like he needs to soak in some Epsom salt. Here's my man, Kevin Oestreicher, talking about the Baltimore Ravens.
That was awful. The Baltimore Ravens suffer a brutal loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in week number 14. I'm Kevin Oestreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. Baltimore falls to 6-7 with their loss to Pittsburgh, and their playoff chances take a massive hit because really the only path for Baltimore right now is through the division, and now Pittsburgh holds the tiebreaker. This game, the Ravens just didn't play good enough in the first half. They went down big. They tried to stage a comeback. They played a lot better in the second half, but some questionable calls from the officials certainly made an impact in this game, but at the end of the day, you can't let it come down to the referees. In Baltimore, there were certain instances where there was no pass rush. They let Aaron Rodgers move around in the pocket, and he's 40-plus years old. We're not talking about 2015 here. Lamar Jackson had an interception, and just all around, a lot of things contributed to this loss. But now the Ravens are going to have to be playing from behind, essentially, for the rest of the season. So for more on the Ravens, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Seems like the further and further we get from Ozzie Newsome having his fingerprint on that franchise, the worse and the worse they get. And they're trying to imitate. It looks like they're trying to imitate those teams. It looks like they come out of the tunnel sometimes just because they have on those uniforms and they think they're going to get the same result. That's not the case.
Yeah, that's true. And it ain't looking good. Now, of course, they went out. They can win the division now, depending on how the tiebreakers would break. I'm looking at just Pittsburgh and Baltimore in that scenario. If they're both sitting there at 10-7, they would both be 3-3 in the AFC North. Then that would go to common opponents. I do not know what the common opponent tiebreaker, who would win that at this moment in time for them. But I'm not going to sit here and think that either one of those teams is going to be able to win the next 3 games before they even play that one. Because you look at Baltimore, they got at Cincinnati. Burrow's back. I think after the loss on Sunday, the Bengals defense is still bad. I understand people are like, oh, hey, Joe Burrow's back. They're going to do what they did last year and really have a scare for the rest of the AFC and be that team like, oh, you don't want to see Cincinnati in the playoffs. Yeah, we do, because they can't stop anybody. But so, they could lose that game certainly this coming week. And in New England, Green Bay, like, good Lord, do they even win a game by the time they play Pittsburgh?
Yeah,
like, that's the thing. And then with the Steelers, all right, cool. And for them, that was a huge win for them because they do have a fairly manageable schedule compared to the one Baltimore has, with the Dolphins coming up here on Monday night. Then they have at Detroit, they have at Cleveland, and then they have that Ravens game. So yeah, that feels like that was it for Baltimore on Sunday. And for also, when you look at Cincinnati, I just don't think at this point in time, sitting at 4-9, it's not going to happen for them. I don't think so. Yeah, it looks like Pittsburgh. Congratulations. You should be AFC North champions this year. And then it's going to be like, we're going to get to the playoffs. You're going to play awful. And we're all going to be like, why are the Steelers in this thing? Oh, that's right, because they won the AFC North. That was awful this year in the AFC, because I don't think any of those could beat Buffalo. It's not just the Jags. Now, that one is probably the least credulous one I can ask for.
And now I got to go edit that again because he just said something else. Hey, man, look. Hey, man, make sure y'all tap in to Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcast. I'm telling you, man, it is where it's at. We'd like to thank you for tuning in here today. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On NFL so you get all the latest episodes. Did Locked On NFL make your Spotify Wrap? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free, exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you to the first 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On NFL. All right, man, me and Julian are going to box off air a little bit and talk about some more stuff like we always do. You guys take care. We appreciate you not taking us for granted, and we don't do the same with your time. A little bit over 32 minutes today. We enjoyed it. We'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL.